Welcome.
Rolling, yeah.
To Moss
Now we're
Marketing
rolling.
Monday.
Now we're rolling.
Marketing Monday, a.k.a. the M3 Podcast. Brought to you by Moss Marketing Group. Bringing you everything marketing every Monday. Stay tuned for marketing tips and tricks you can use today. The M3 Podcast. Marketing knowledge to help you succeed. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the M3 podcast. I was going to see how long I keep them in silence.
I could stay here forever.
Sit here forever.
Fine.
This week, I'm super excited. We have Chip Glennon on with us this week. We got Ricky. We got Dalton from the MMG crew. Thank you for being here this week, Chip.
Absolutely. Glad to be with you guys.
I think we had a 2-hour podcast before the podcast even started.
We did.
So now we got a little bit more insights to get rolling. We got our cigars. I've already finished my whiskey, so I'm going to be refilling when the podcast is starting. So
Do it.
That's how you know it's going to be a good podcast.
Yeah.
something like that, in theory. So, Chip, you sell real estate here in Kansas City.
I do. Yep.
You live up north,
I
correct?
do. Yeah.
We have crossed paths through. How did we originally meet?
Man, I don't remember.
I don't know. I feel like we've just been.
It was always fun. Every time
Yeah.
I saw you, we had a good time.
Yeah, and we've always seen you were also a auctioneer.
Yes.
So
That's probably where we've seen each other the majority of the time.
yeah, so you were always the auctioneer at all the different hunting events that we would go to, everything like that. So
You're always one of my favorite bidders because like he bids on everything.
just put them in there.
And buys most of it.
Just look at Daniel.
A lot of it.
Yeah, I think most of the time I end up buying something I didn't even know I bid on. But Chip's like, I'll just put him in there. He's good for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So we have crossed paths on so many different things and just always been very intrigued with what you've done. I think you've been a great entrepreneur, very educated in the real estate space. And we've always had great conversations on that side. And thought you'd be a great fit to come on here and tell your story of what you've done.
Cool. I had to do it, man.
Let's
I don't know.
Masson always gives me grief for not getting right into people's background and starting from the beginning. I kind of jump all over the place. So let's start at the beginning, the story of Chip. Where did it all begin?
Gosh. Boy, I wasn't ready for that one.
See, I just hit it way back.
Yeah. So I grew up in Kearney, or Holt, I guess is hometown, but, just had a great childhood, grew up on a farm. So kind of come from that background. We always had cattle, horses, that sort of thing. Lots of bird dogs growing up. I didn't have any neighbors, so there was no other kids until I was 5 years old.
Neighbors are over.
Which is kind of a unique thing, right? Grew up in the country. I went to kindergarten, met my first friends, pretty much, which is besides my cousins. That was the first time. So that is a whole nother thing. But went 13 years at Kearney. Some of my best friends in life still graduated high school with. And then I went to college. And through high school, I made money riding horses. I broke colts, and that was kind of my thing. I got pretty good at it and sold some for quite a bit of money, enough to pay for college.
When did you start riding horses?
What's that?
When did you start riding them?
Well, I mean, there's pictures of me 2 weeks old sitting on horses. So
Yeah, from the beginning.
yeah, and it's a little bit like the car business, believe it or not. I mean, you buy and sell horses, and there's a lot of wheeling and dealing that goes on, and it's I guess what I found out later in life was it's not a super clean business. There's they call people horse traders for a reason, and not in a positive way. But I tried to always do things the right way, and I just really enjoyed that. So I went to school at SMSU at the time, first semester, and didn't really like that, and had an opportunity to ride horses. I sold a horse to a guy that was didn't speak English. He was Cuban, from Florida, and he had limousines and jets and all this stuff, and wore white tuxedos all
Was
the
this
time.
Pablo Escobar?
had bodyguards, and I was a 15-year-old kid at the time. I sold him this little stud horse that I bought for next to nothing, in 1987. I sold that horse to him for $40,000. And I got, a couple other horses to boot. And, anyway, the long story short, the horse goes and wins all this stuff. And so he offered me a job. My parents were like, no, you're not doing that. So I went to school.
He's got a jet.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I go to school and didn't really like that, and went and finally after school went and rode horses for a good while and enjoyed that. Did that professionally, and then decided I needed to get an education because I looked at these older horse trainers and horse traders and some of the most successful in the business, and what I found out was their bodies were shot and they really didn't make a whole lot of money, unfortunately. So decided to go back to school. I wound up at Oklahoma State, and had a really good time there. Made some lifelong friends, of course. And I got in the bar business with my best friend in Stillwater. And we had this little place there that did very well. And it made it for 22 years.
Oh, wow.
And we still own the rights to the name. And it was very successful and did good for us. And in that process, somewhere in there, when I turned 18, I got a real estate license because I worked for John Ferguson and Liberty one summer and really enjoyed that business. And so that's what I wound up doing.
What was the name of this bar?
The Wormy Dog Saloon. We sold a lot of T-shirts.
That's a great name.
How did you come up with that?
Yeah.
So I had a bird dog at the time, and we're sitting on the front porch, and we had negotiated to buy this bar for $3,500. Okay. We assumed the lease. We got all the tables, bar stools, 2 pool tables, like sound system, lights, reach-in cooler, walk-in cooler. And it was across from the AGR house, the SIGEP house, the SAE, the Beta house, all of turn,
So prime real estate.
Yeah.
Prime
So the strip has.
You say 3,500?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in 19
That was 1992. August 6th of 92 is the day we opened.
conversion, what would that?
Still pretty cheap. I
Yeah.
think.
But in college towns, it's boom bust in the bar business, right?
Yeah.
It's ghost town in the summer.
I feel
So
like that's a pretty good location, though. I mean, make all your money in.
So Garth Brooks started in the place next door, which was called Willie's. And then there's Eskimo Joe's around the corner. So there's, a lot of tradition and history there. So we buy this little place. We spend 1 month remodeling it. And I think we had credit card debt because that was the only way we could finance the remodel on the place. Anyways, I think we had maybe 20,000 in it when we got done. We borrowed money from our friends and our parents and everybody. First night we did $10,000.
Oh, yeah.
And after that it was just.
You were probably feeling pretty good after that night.
Yeah, I was 21 and Chuck was 22, my partner. And we ended up with, 60 something employees, and this thing just went crazy. And we were making way too much money for young kids.
I'm thinking of myself in college. I can't even fathom doing that.
Yeah. Well, it's 25,000 students at OSU at the time, 28,000, something like that. And this place was, remember how college bars are, right? The line is out the door down the street. If it's
it's changed a lot now.
One in, one out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So at that time, this is 92. There's no, you guys heard of red dirt music, right? Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of red dirt?
I'm going to say, I'm
your
not
world's
going
about to change.
I'm not going to lie to you like Dalton is down there.
No, it's like Oklahoma indie country.
It's right? Texas, Oklahoma. That's the sound down there.
It's like kind of like Zach Bryan's.
Correct. Yeah. And Cody Johnson was kind of a red dirt guy. But anyway, at that time, there was no such thing as red dirt.
Is that something in the Orange song right now?
Yeah.
I actually very much like that song.
I haven't.
Morgan Wallen's kind of, he's more top 40 now, but red dirt's kind of the Texas, Oklahoma sound that they play on the radio there, but you don't hear it here. Right. Sometimes. So anyway, we got into the ground floor of that. And there was these bands like Randy Rogers and Cross Canadian Ragweed and The Great Divide. And, they were we were all young kids. Well, now these guys are selling 15,000 seaters and making down there, doing really, really well. But that kind of all started in the Wormy Dog Saloon. So
that's awesome.
It was
I
crazy.
wish I would have been there.
It's crazy.
It
It was a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
And it's if you're down there and you say the Wormy Dog to anyone in Oklahoma or Texas, they've been there and they know about it pretty much.
That's
sweet.
That was something I did not know.
That's way cooler. That's way cooler than anything I did in college.
You've known Chip this long and you've never
Never knew that was the thing.
Well, it's I mean, you talk now that I think about it, it was crazy that we did it and we pulled it off, and it was very successful. But yeah, that was another lifetime.
That's a very early entrepreneurial mind.
It was.
Like,
We were, it was not in '92. Bill Clinton's in office. None of us could find jobs. Seniors in college, and you couldn't find anything in agriculture at that time, and the job market was pretty tough. And Chuck was like, "I only know how to do two things." I'm like, "Oh, really? What's that?" And he goes, "Well, I know how to chase women. I know how to party." That's like, "You're right. That is all you know how to do." And so
Chip goes, "I also know how to do those things."
I said, I can count money, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, we did good. I mean, it was a lot of fun. We grew up really quick and had a lot of responsibility, but it was fun.
Yeah. That's
we did a good job with it, I felt like.
My dad was in the bar business for 26 years.
Yeah.
And it was something that he did not want me in that space. So
it's a tough life.
It closed 6 months before I turned 21.
Yeah.
Because it was funny when I was in college, I was working at the dealership, and I was like, you know what? After I turn 21, I'm going to go bartend at the bar instead. That sounds a lot more.
No, you're not. Son.
He goes, absolutely not.
Yeah. I'll pay you more money. You just stay right here.
No, he just said, I'm going to close it down.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny because when my dad lived here in the 90s, he lives in Texas now, but I told him that I was friends with Dirk's son because he went to Dirk's Bar and Grill all the time. It was right by where I grew up.
Right.
And he's like, "No freaking way." He's like, "I know that. I know him. Yeah. I used to go there all the time. I mean, I was there every weekend."
Yeah.
Like, he was probably there more like every night. But
it's funny how many people that will come up to me that they're like, "Oh yeah, when I met you the first time, you're like this big."
Uh-huh.
I'm like, "Oh yeah," I don't remember that.
Well, if I go out in Oklahoma City or Dallas or Fort Worth or anywhere down in that part of the country, I'll run into people and they'll be like, "Chip." I'll turn around and be like, "Wormy dog." But when there's 28,000 people to college and they just come through, all the time, you meet tons and tons of people. We had a lot of good times, a lot of great memories down there.
So things are booming. You're running a bar that's just making money hand over fist. Mm-hmm. What moves you out of Oklahoma City?
I met a girl.
Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I met a girl, fell in love, and we wanted to start a family. And so I was like, at the time my dad's business was growing, and I came to Kansas City and helped him. And we doubled his business, and that was a lot of fun. Lacey and I got married and had 4 children. And that was it. We sold the bar in '98. We kept the rights to the name. And then after that, a bar opened in Oklahoma City it held a lot of people. So we had the original Wormy Dog Saloon. And then we had down the street, we had a place that was 8,000 square feet that held 1,500 people, something like that. And then the place in Oklahoma City, it held a couple thousand people.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it was a big joint. But when I moved to Kansas City, I kind of came back and forth to Stillwater a lot. And then, just helped Dad with his business up here for 6-7 years, and then got in real estate full time.
So what was Dad's business?
Jostens. So they do graduation products, class rings, all that sort of thing. He did it for 48 years. And his dad was also in that business.
So he did it as like a salesperson for it?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah. You have territories.
So he was the guy that came to the school.
That's right.
And you went up to the table.
Yeah.
Like, "What do you want?"
That's right. Yeah.
And then every senior, or what year do you get them?
Sophomore. Usually sophomore.
Sophomore.
Get your class ring.
I remember going up and that was the coolest thing ever. I couldn't tell you where that thing's at now.
Some girl had
I honestly
probably
don't think I got a class ring, but I may have.
No, then it was funny because I was looking at it. I was like, "Dude, that's so cool." And then they had the option where you get the 2 real diamonds
on there.
and I was
You
sitting
didn't
there.
want the CZs. You didn't want those CZs.
And my dad's like, he goes, "You know what?" He goes, "You do these things around the yard." He goes, "I'll get you one with the diamonds." I was like, "Oh, man." And all that, I look back, I was like, "What a fucking idiot."
They gotcha.
And where those diamonds?
I mean,
I don't know.
I think it's so for me, high school was I loved my high school friends and all the traditions that came with that stuff. You think back to those times now, it was a great time in life. College was too. I've enjoyed every stage. And now, I'm in my almost mid-50s and it's just different. You know a lot more things at this stage of life. So you can enjoy it, watch your kids, and
I think any stage that you're at, the people around it are what make it. I look back at high school, I enjoyed high school, but it wasn't like, if you want to send me back to go relive those days, I want to do it.
Oh, I would in a heartbeat.
It just wasn't like I worked all the time at home. Like,
Oh, you did.
Which I'm very thankful for what our dad did for us, putting us through what he did.
Yeah.
Where everyone else is out partying all the time, doing all these things. I'm like,
That would have been me. I would have been out partying.
yeah, we were mowing
Oh.
and doing stuff around the house, doing that, but it created a different level of work ethic
Right.
that most people I went to school with don't have.
Right. Yeah.
But it's also, I have some high school friends, but college was where I really started actually like meeting people that I feel like high school was such a, I don't know, surface level friendship kind of deal. Like with majority, I still have a couple like good friends, but college was where I actually started meeting like real people that you could count on if you needed them.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of those high school people, like, you were friends, but like if you needed something, they're like, oh yeah, man, can't make it, like not gonna be there. I'm like, it was just a different time. I think, and my dad was the same way. Like, I think high school was different, like when you guys came through.
Must have been, because like some of my high school buddies, I still like, it's like we're right back there when I get together with those guys. But there's nothing to do back then. You didn't have cell phones. You didn't have, like, you had to go to the 5 places we all hung out to find each other.
Which I think that's why it was different.
Yeah,
like,
they were at the truck stop, because there was an old truck stop there in Kearney. They were there.
Yeah.
They had great breakfast.
They were
too.
at Lover's Lane, Birds Lane, A Highway, or and if they weren't there, then their parents didn't let them go out that night. So I mean, we were
You calling them from the payphone? Where the hell you at?
and
Call my house.
that didn't work. It did. It was. But anyway, so that's, I guess you asked the story of my life. That's it. I had 4 kids.
Oh, that's it. That just seems very, very.
Well, I mean, up until I met Lacey, and then we started a family, and life got serious.
Yeah. So, entering into real estate, what made you want to take the step and say, "Hey, real estate's the path I want"?
Man, I'm probably that person that there's never been a dream that I've had that I didn't chase. And so I had this dream that, so one of my mentors is a guy named Daryl Rodrock that I just look up to. Tim Harris is a developer here in Northland I look up to a lot. But those guys, like, they see things that aren't there yet, right? And then they are able to take the pieces of that puzzle and put it together and create things out of nothing. But there's so many difficult pieces of that puzzle, financing and engineering, and just a ton of different parts. So for me, I thought at the time, and I was younger at the time, right? I didn't know there would be a recession where I didn't make money for 6 years. That changed the game a little bit. But so my dream was to develop ground and to build homes and to market them. I mean, I thought I can do those things, and we got really good at the marketing, and we sold 260 something houses, and from 20 up to 2018. I mean, that's kind of the volume we were doing, and made us one of the top real estate teams in Kansas City, and got real good at that part. But there was a time there from about 2007 to 2013 or 14, we just didn't make any money and lost a lot of money. So the dream changed a little bit. And in that process, we had several more children. And so I haven't, just given up on it, but there's been some life changes for me, and I've had to stop, regroup, get through some tough parts. And now I'm regrouping, going back after some of those. So,
yeah. And I think you talk about not being scared to go after your dreams of whatever it is. I think that's where a lot of people just sell themselves short in life.
Yeah.
That they will dream their whole entire lives and they'll never take a step to go do it.
Well, I mean, we were talking earlier about not getting started off on tangents about all the crazy things going on in the world today. But, I think our education system really doesn't encourage people to pursue their dreams. They teach you, we got a 1950s education system that says, when the bell rings, you get to go to the bathroom. And I have some of my best friends work in factories and things like that. But like, I've just never been that guy that somebody could say, you're worth as much as that guy over there who won't get off his ass and do his job. I have a hard time with that. I've always had a hard time with that. If my ability is that I can produce 20% more than that guy, I should make 20% more money. And that could be wrong that I think that way, but that our education system doesn't teach us to think that way. It teaches us to be, this type of a worker, and you get a job, you put in your time, you get the watch, you retire, whatever, whatever the story has changed to. I've never bought into that.
And
I've never worked for anybody else in my whole life.
That's pretty crazy.
I mean, it's
the only person I've worked for is my father.
I was an independent contractor when I worked for my father.
Yeah, my father and I have a great relationship, but when we work together, we butt heads like nobody's business.
So do mine and I. I mean, and I love him so much, but yeah, he taught me probably more than anyone else has.
100%.
Yeah, but no, he does what works and what's always worked.
Yep.
And I was like, we can make more money if we do it like this, and he was like, no. So, I mean, we're probably that way with our kids. I don't know. My philosophy raising kids is probably, you don't have children yet, do you?
I do not.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just really, and you got to keep me on task here because I'll go.
Oh, I want to go wherever it goes.
Okay,
Like, that's fine.
So with my daughter, I have 3 daughters and 1 little boy, and my oldest is 22. She's moving to Dallas here next week for her first big girl job. But my kids are workers. They grew up, money means something to them. They respect it. And I just want them to, I've told all my daughters, I want you to be happy because you're going to spend a lot of your life working. Just do something that fills your heart. If it makes you happy, the money, people will attract to you if they can tell you're enjoying what you're doing and you're having fun and you get good at it.
Which I'll agree with that to a point.
Okay.
I feel like there's a point that is true.
Yeah.
But it's also when we talk about our education system being flawed.
Oh, okay.
There's kids going to school, leaving college with $100,000 debt
Right.
hit on their credit.
Sure.
And they have a fucking art degree.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
or a music degree or something like that. And they may not and that's the conversation I feel like more parents need to have with their kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you may think you're the best singer in the world. Guess what, little Jimmy? Like, you're not going to be a singer.
Yeah.
Like, there's some people that there's certain things
you got to be honest with your kids, right?
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people are just like, no, you're great. And
I think the kids have to be self-aware enough to understand. Like my daughter Clancy's like number 6 in her class, and she tells me that she's 18, by the way, going to Mizzou.
Yeah,
I don't know why she's going to Mizzou. I'll support it. But she was like, Dad, I'm going to go get an undergrad. Then I want to go to Sam Houston State, get my law degree. Then I want to be a prosecutor for 10 years, and then I want to be a judge. And I'm like, honey, you can do that. But she's self-aware. Like, she knows that she's capable of that. And I'm like, you're going to do it. And she will.
I definitely think there's people that have, I think parents a lot of times count their kids short when it comes to actually how powerful their brain is and actually using it, being smart.
Yeah.
Like, our dad was always the first one. He's like, you're way smarter than you will ever think of yourself. He's like, always push yourself. And it's like, you start learning that discipline of studying, you start learning the discipline of all these different things, and you'll get better at whatever it is.
Right.
But it's also, there's certain things that come with talent. If somebody is 5'5" and they weigh 100 pounds and it's a male, and guess what? I'm sorry to break the news to you, but you're not playing in the NFL.
No.
Like, or if there's some people that I don't have a musical bone in my body. Like, I want to play guitar so bad. I have a very nice guitar that I cannot fucking play. I don't think I'll ever be able to play.
But like, have you really gone to get the lessons and put the effort?
Not lessons, but I have tried to watch. I have sat in a bedroom.
Do you buy the Keith Urban thing?
No, I started watching videos. I started doing everything, and I was just like, and I have a buddy that is he's a country singer and everything. He's been on here. He performs at bars. He's been at P&L and everything. He came over and he's like, let's just work on just drumming. We're doing that. He's like, looks at me. He's like, dude, you have no fucking
I've been told the same.
I was like,
I mean,
and he's like,
be laughing.
Yeah. And he pretty much just looked at me and told me I should give it up. So, yeah. But there's certain things that you're just, as much as you want to do that, you can't. And it's like,
Agreed.
And I think there's a lot of parents who just tell their kids that they can. And then the education system's like, we'll give us $100,000 and we'll teach you about music history.
So that
so that you can go teach.
Yeah.
Do you guys know Bill Brown by any chance?
I know Bill.
My best friend since 4th grade.
Yeah, I know Bill real well.
He was the best man at my wedding.
We need to have Bill on here too.
You do, yeah. That is a great dude. So anyway, his daughter is like this unbelievable dancer. She decides she wants to be Dallas Cowboys cheerleader, right? Well, they don't take 18-year-olds very often ever for Dallas Cowboys, but she's made it like to the the final round of the tryouts. And, you know, people are doubting that she's going to be able to do this. And she's not. But they're like, well, do you have a plan B if this doesn't work? She goes, no. Like Mike Tyson didn't go into a fight with a plan B.
I don't know how many times we've talked about this exact same thing on the podcast.
Like, so and you know, if you know Bill very well, he used to own like 3 karate schools and I went to
MMA classes at his place.
Okay. So he taught Taekwondo, Kempo, Muay Thai, all that stuff, right? He was like, and he told me this just today. He said, I told her, he said, honey, you know, fighters go and peak out for that day. Like they're at the very top of their ability, mentally, physically, everything. And you know, she's trying out against 25, 26, 27-year-old women.
Yeah.
That are trying to keep their spot on the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. And he goes, she is laser focused. Like this is, and he goes, you know, Mike Tyson lost some fights. Then you think about what you're going to do next. But until that happens, you think about going and knocking the guy out.
Well, and that's just as an individual. Like you talk about going out and like starting a bar, doing all that stuff. Like,
yeah.
I was the first one when I started a marketing company. Everyone told me it was a bad idea.
Really?
Like I had a great paying job. Everyone from the outside looking in thought everything was dandy, but actual life sucked. Like I hated.
Oh, yeah.
Like I didn't enjoy it. And like, so then when I started a marketing company, everyone says it's a terrible idea, but in my head there was not a road. I had built all these roadmaps in my head, and not one of them led to failure.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can succeed in anything I want to do. Like. And it was just that mindset.
Just pig-headed discipline.
Yeah.
Like you guys, I know y'all are hog hunters.
Now
I mean, you know, if you have pig-headed discipline and you just, you know, you just every day get up and work hard and you visualize how this is going to go, then you can will a certain amount of things in life.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I was raised.
Yeah.
My old man is the most pig-headed, disciplined, like. And if anything made him successful in his job, that's what it was. You know, there's always more talented people. There's always better finance people. There's always more, you know, polished or whatever in the sales field, especially. But just year after year, day in, day out, show up.
Tenacious drive.
Right?
Yeah.
Does so much.
Yeah.
And I don't know where you learn that if it's, you know, but that is the one thing that my dad taught me.
I think parents teach you that. Yeah. I think 100%. I think actually, I'm not going to say that fully because I've met some people that I don't know their parents that have those same attributes but it was something that I think some people see their parents and they see an opposite of what they want to be.
Uh-huh.
And some people see their parents and they see of what I saw my dad do things just because he was more driven than anyone around him.
Yeah.
And I saw that like from the forefront. I saw the flaws in what he did. Like he was in no way perfect.
Right.
Neither am I. Like nobody I know is perfect. But I saw those flaws of what he did.
If you can be perfect at one or two things and then adequate at the rest,
yeah.
Like you can be the top of your game, whatever your field is. I think you got to be really excellent at a couple of things, like so much better than everybody else, and then just adequate at the rest, or surround yourself with good people that can pick up your shortcomings and trust them and, you know, let them do what they're good at.
Yeah. So we talk about you have spearheaded all these different entrepreneurial endeavors. You get into real estate and you grow real estate. What did it look like at your peak of running real estate? Ooh. And how many people did you have running? And you were talking about trusting people around you. And what did that look like?
Well, I was fortunate. I really, you know, it took a long time for me in my business, in the real estate business. It's kind of like the oil patch. It's boom and bust. And when it's boom, it's really good. And when it's bust, it's really tough. And I was, you know, timing's everything, right? So when you attract some really talented people around you, you can stomp your foot on the gas. I mean, just go. And I was, you know, I was at that stage in my life where I had that energy and I had the desire and I had the people. And so we went hard. I mean, we were closing 30, 40 houses a month. And that's, you know, that is like rolling. And there's people that are doing that now. But for me, I got to the point where I wasn't even selling anymore. There was like 7 years in there where I didn't sell a single house. I was doing the marketing. I was doing the, just managing the team. We had 23 on the team, and some really, really good, talented people. The challenge for me was the turnover in my business. We would turn over a lot of people in real estate. It just eats people up, chews them up, spits them out. And that was tough because you get to be friends with them, their families. And, some of it, I think looking back, was my leadership, frankly. Some of it's the business. But it, personally, what it did to me is, I'm one of those guys that just I'll grind and go and go and go. And that takes a toll. And at the time I didn't know that so much. But I one of the things that I didn't do right was I kept getting into, we started building houses, then and if you have the leadership group around you to do that, and the talent around you to do other things, it's fine. But you better make sure you got the right folks. Yeah.
And I think I see it across a lot of different businesses where that leader gets to a point, but they still don't lead their leaders within them.
Exactly.
And it's like, you have to build that culture to a really, do you know who Andy Elliott is?
No.
So he's a automotive sales guy, and he talks about how he's built an unrecruitable team. And he goes, I have $1 million on the line, anyone that can recruit somebody that works for me.
Wow.
But he says, I have an unrecruitable team. He goes, I've built a culture. I've built something so big around me that he goes, you can't take my guys.
That's awesome.
And he has a huge team, but it's like he's built these leaders within his team that are so high level that it's like, it's seeing how that happens, because I think the beginning stages of business are so much different than the middle stages or to what the top stages are. And you see all these guys that they can take the ride all the way up.
Yeah.
But then holding that top
is a different talent sometimes.
It is.
Is it, like the initiator, I guess, the guy that kind of gets it, puts it together, gets it to here, isn't always the guy can hold it there or take it to here.
Yeah.
And so is it, you have to evolve into a different kind of a leader to do that. Or if you're smart, you'll find somebody that just naturally has those gifts and those abilities. And so that's,
I also think if you were running it and you are the top spot, that has to be your gift
to evolve and change.
Yeah. I think people read that
Yeah.
of people that can evolve, they can change, they can
Right.
adapt.
Right.
I think when you have strong individuals around you, they're just as smart as you are.
100%.
They're following you for a
Hopefully
reason.
smarter than you.
Exactly.
If you did it right.
Yeah. I've always told people that if I have one thing that people remember me for is just hiring the best people
Right.
possible. Like
Right.
if I can be remembered for that one thing, I've won.
Yeah.
But it's also like when you have those people, they're just as smart as you. So it's how are you leading them to their next spot?
Yeah. And you got to, as a leader, you have to build a runway, because when your business is, let's say your business is 20 million, there's a certain amount of speed it takes to get that plane off the ground or to land it. But when you're doing 40 million, the runway better be twice as long. And what I mean by that is the talent has to have more opportunity. You have to let them grow and have more opportunity. And that's really, really important. And it's not easy to do as a leader to continue to create opportunities for your leadership group and the people that are with you, because there's the thing that helps people stay.
Yeah. And it's something I feel like I'm going through right now that I'm thinking about is like so much of where we're at. I have the most phenomenal team around me possible. And I credit 100% of what Moss Marketing Group is today is because of the people around me, not me. And then it's like, but how do I move everyone from the position they're in to their next position?
Right.
That steps them up, because I'm the person that happiness is found in progression.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is where happiness is found. And when you stop, I know multimillionaires out there that are fucking miserable.
Oh, hey, I've been one of them.
But
so you got to build that runway. The runway has to be long enough. Right. So your job is to keep making the runway longer.
Yep.
So you can land bigger planes.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's easy to talk about. It's not easy to do.
It is definitely not easy to do. It's funny how many times people would think a business owner would lose sleep over money or things like that. The only thing I lose sleep over is the opportunities I can give other people.
Right. Because the more opportunities you can give the talent around you, the happier they're going to be.
Yep.
And part of their job is to help you with those opportunities, like help you develop these opportunities and help build that runway. And it's, like I said, it's not easy to do. It's tough. And then while you're building it and growing, keeping the quality, I don't care if you're mowing grass, if your maximum capacity is one guy is mowing, 15 yards a day, you hire another guy, you think you should mow 30 yards a day. But in reality, it's 20 or 25, right? And then that guy that he mowed is calling going, hey, didn't weed eat this back corner? So keeping the quality there. And that's a very simple explanation of what it's like to grow a business.
Yeah.
But now you got to manage, you got to hire people to manage people. You've got to still stay positive cash flow. You've got to keep building this runway. There's so many moving parts to growing a business, and it takes a special person.
And I think where I do see a lot of failures, a lot of people look at business and growing those leaders all in a business way. Mm-hmm. That a lot of times, if you can help somebody in a personal way, if that is relationship wise, if that's personal finance wise, if that's fitness wise, something to make their life better.
100%.
Like
100%.
I feel like it's a much better way to retain people, keep the right people around.
Yeah.
And it was something that, once again, this is something I work on all the time, is work may not be the issue. Most bosses or owners and things like that look at it always as a work issue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, helping people level up in the important areas of life is probably the key. And you just hit on that. I mean, if they can level up with their fitness, their finances, their emotional, their physical, their mental states, I think there's 7, I'm missing 2, but right. I mean, if you help someone level up in whatever area they're struggling, you're really, and then, not everybody on the team is a running back. Not everybody on the team is a quarterback. Not everybody on the team's a defensive end or
that's my hardest thing that I go through.
We tend to, as leaders, we want to hire people like us, because we understand each other. We get along, we have fun together. We love it. But you need people who are weirdo bead counters. You need people who are, that bean counter who's a weirdo, like they're part of the group, but you don't understand what makes them tick. They're an important part of the team sometimes. You know what I mean?
So that's the thing that Madison and I have had many arguments on this because she believes that same thing.
Oh, and you're not buying in? I'm not.
That's
all right. I mean, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And I believe that.
So my deal is I've looked at it as Andy Frisella that owns First Form and Supplement Superstores.
Yeah.
That dude has built a team of people from the top all the way to the bottom that
mimic him.
Yeah. Then I'm like, I look at it as like, so when somebody says that it can't be done, it can be done.
Oh, Rob Dukansky's the number 1 real estate agent in the state of New Jersey. Okay. Yeah. Like he's got like 85 billboards going into New York City. This guy, I love Dukansky, but he basically has a fraternity house. It's his business. And they're all Rob Dukansky's. They're just like him. Yeah. But he's also got a few people that aren't, and like they make the thing run. The rest of them are partying and selling houses and killing it. But you got to have somebody that's like, hey, nobody locked the office up tonight. There has to be.
Which I feel like sometimes there's that like spot that I look at it as like sales make businesses go round.
Yeah. Oh, we're on the same page. Yeah. And if you're not selling, you're sucking.
Yeah. And most people discount the sales side of it so much that was the most valuable thing I got out of the car business was as one talent that I know I do have is I have a sales ability that like I can sell.
Whatever. I feel confident in my ability to make friends with people, garner their respect, their trust. I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. And I'm going to make sure that after they buy it, it's what they expected. Right. And if you do that over and over and over, discipline day in and day out, you're gonna do well. And you're gonna outlast a lot of the high flyers who come in and got silver tongues and can do whatever. But they burn out quick. They just don't have the staying power. So
So I think on the sales side, that's what it's hard when you have, if you want to call them bean counters or whatever the outlier people. I don't know what they're called, but it's like.
They're just different than we are. They're wired different.
And I struggle with people that aren't wired like me.
Oh,
and my dad tells me all the time, he's like, you got to figure that out. I'm like, you're just fucking bad as I am. I was like, what are you talking about?
well, the kicker on the football team, like he's an important guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, they don't always invite him over for, let's roast a hog type deal.
Yeah.
Drink some
Chip
beer.
has some great analogies.
He does.
Like, I'm sitting here like counting them. I'm like, I think it's like 4 or 5 now.
Yeah.
I'm building a team, and I've spent $250,000 on business coaching over the years, and I've learned a lot. And some of it worked.
I should probably just shut up because I probably don't know shit.
So I had this question earlier.
Back. Hit it again, Dalton.
Yeah. So I was there's sales guys that are, really good at sales, but probably not so good of leaders.
Right.
And then there's leaders that are excellent sales guys. So where's the difference? Kind of like what makes that,
the it factor that they can do both.
Like, because I mean, you'd think like a good sales guy, like they can think on their feet,
Yeah.
Pretty.
Man, it's just a whole different skill set. So your top producers rarely make good managers in my view. I think it happens, but they've just got a sub skill set that they're able to, learn a new craft, because it's a different craft to lead people than it is to be a top producer salesperson. As a salesperson, when you're 100% commission, you eat what you kill. So you learn to get really good at the things that, get you a commission check. And whether that's, prospecting, or whether that's closing the deal, or whether that's follow up for repeat business. But when you're a leader in the fields I've been in sales, you have to be more invested in your people's success than your own, because if they're successful, then you succeed. And that's a total mind shift, right? So, it's hard to convert just natural given talent to somebody. It's hard to give that to somebody. So you can teach skills, you can practice repetition, you can learn scripts and dialogues, you can learn, disciplines, those things you can teach, but then being like you were talking about earlier, involved in the things that really inside make a person tick. I think a good leader has to really master those things versus being interested in the kill. Top salespeople they love the kill, and that's a different craving than it is to crave to see people succeed that you've brought on, or that you've brought up, or that you've recruited in. And I think people can make that transition, but not everybody. So that's my answer to the question.
I think that also goes to the way someone sells, because I've seen a lot of different style of selling where there's been those people that they are the kill.
Yeah.
And I saw it in the car space all the time. And I saw some of the most impressive salespeople I've ever seen in my life.
And it's a thing of beauty, right?
It is. Watching them, I would bring them in. I'm like, hey, you teach. You're better than me.
But that can't be taught. Some of that cannot.
But it's also like the way I sold was so different.
Mm-hmm.
The way I sold was, I'm always here.
Yeah.
It was the difference of why buy from me.
Right.
Why buy from, I cared about those people when they bought a car. I wasn't trying to sell a car.
Yep.
They just sold because I actually took interest in the people. I actually took interest in that. To where then the shift to leadership was I just shifted where that care was. It wasn't it was still for the customer, but that care for the customer was also the care to the people that I was working with.
Right.
That now, just as invested as I was with that customer I had, was the investment now that I had for that person that was working under me.
Right.
Whereas I wanted the best for them. It was just a different.
Yeah. And there's people like you, there are people that just have these different gifts God gave them. And, they've fine-tuned them and made them better and better. But, let's be honest. In the car business versus the real estate business, a top producer, what's the lifespan of a top producer in the car business at a dealership? If you're going to guess.
At a single store?
Yeah.
So I will say that the benefit of what a top producer gets at a dealership is when they get to a store, they're probably the most valuable person in the whole entire place.
Yeah, it's like bringing Tom Brady in.
It is.
You bring
Like-
Mahomes in, you got instant, right?
Like I had a sales guy at one point that came right off the street, came in, and he would sell 25 cars every month.
Yeah.
Dude never showed up on Fridays. Like he was the biggest pain in the ass in the store.
Prima donna.
Huge pain in the ass. But it's like, and then you would have other salespeople bitch, and I'd be in meetings, and I was very firm on it all the time.
Right.
I'm like, until any one of you sell 25 cars, I don't want to hear a fucking word.
Yeah. So,
Period.
Yeah.
Like-
Go learn what he does.
Yeah.
And you can take Fridays off
Like-
too.
If he sells 25 cars Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I don't care if I see him Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
He paid his way.
Exactly. So it's like, it was difficult watching that,
Mm-hmm.
but I do think lifespan at dealerships for a good salesperson can be long if they want it to be. But the problem is, like, you find those people that are those cutthroat hunters in the car space, and I'm not talking for all spaces. 9 out of 10 times they have some sort of flaw somewhere else in their life,
100%. Yeah. Oh,
like
yeah.
a major flaw. Somewhere.
Right.
That a lot of them that I have found that run and operate that way, they chase so much for the big win that a lot of them struggle with gambling.
Something. But
But I don't know. Like I'm saying from my experience in the car business.
But when they run down and dunk the ball, you're like, oh, I mean, it's amazing. But I'll take 50 of those guys that can month in, month out for years on end. They may do 25 ever, but they show up. They're good team players. They're positive attitudes. They make everybody in the dealership happy. They're good to the staff, the operations people. The customers like them and rave about them. They just keep, they aren't troublemakers. They're not wave makers. But then you got that Dennis Rodman that can just come in and, get every rebound, and everybody's like, wow, what,
But it's hard
nature.
when you watch that because, like, I know in real estate, and you tell me if I'm wrong, I don't know if there's the overhead that the car business carries.
I mean, my break even was $96,000 a month when I was running my team.
So we were at like 200,000 a month.
Yeah.
So it's like when you're running those like 180 to 200 a month, it's like when you're running those, like you need those all-star players.
Well, yeah.
And it's like those steady Eddie guys are cool to have.
Yeah.
And it's like, I like this guy. He shows up all the time.
The hard thing is to keep everybody happy in that environment, right? I mean, like you look at who was the coach of the Bulls when they had Rodman and Jordan?
Phil Jackson, I think.
Right? So the guy knew how to manage those egos and personalities and keep everybody pass the ball, and they did it.
So I think on business.
And by the way, he couldn't play basketball, I don't think.
Yeah. I don't know
Krzyzewski
basketball
play
at all,
basketball?
so.
I mean,
If you're asking me basketball
I think
questions,
you're asking the wrong guys.
I don't even.
you should probably be asking the sign behind me because it's going to probably give a better
I don't
answer.
even know if that was the right coach, but I think it was.
I was really impressed by that.
I was.
Mike Krzyzewski, I don't think was a great basketball player, but he was
I
at
thought
Duke for how long? Right?
Oh.
Now, Bill
yeah.
Self, by the way, played at Oklahoma State. If you guys didn't
I
know
did.
that,
I think we have an answer.
I didn't know that.
He was a stand-up basketball player at Wilston High School.
Who? Krzyzewski?
Okay.
Phil Jackson.
Phil
Yeah.
Jackson.
Okay, this was also probably in the 50s.
But I mean, we're a little off track here. But I mean, the guy could take that top talent and then the steady eddies and make everybody pass the ball and win the ball games.
But I think what makes that happen, and this is something that I did have success at running a sales team in a dealership, was I think a lot of business owners tiptoe around and a lot of leaders tiptoe around how that totem pole works.
Yeah. I
don't think a totem pole is a bad thing.
No.
I
Put
think
the numbers up there where everybody can see it.
like I think it's very okay to let everyone know where they stand. Like
I'm a big believer on let's see the KPIs, the
Yep.
key performance indicators of the business. How many dials, how many emails, how
Yep.
many texts, how many people did you greet out in the parking lot? And then your conversion ratio from here to here is this. With this lead source, it's this. And then the end result is this. And your paycheck is this.
and when
So, right? I mean, if you watch the KPIs, and I know Crosley and those guys are master at this stuff,
Yep.
right? So if you look at the key performance indicators of business, you can find your answer to get the results you want.
and then you sit in there with a group of sales guys and you have new guy here, X, Ricky here selling 25 cars a month. Dalton's been here for 3 years. He sells 10 to 15 a
I knew
month.
he was gonna. I knew it. I was waiting for it.
And then it's like the new guy comes in, he's selling like 5. He's like, this is bullshit. I don't get as many leads as Reiki. And wants to throw a fit. I was the first one in a whole meeting with the whole sales staff. I'm like, you want to know why you don't get as many leads? So we take his leads. I'm like, how many did you close out? And you take those KPIs. You put them on a board. You start breaking down the math of how many that he gets, how many he gets. And I'm like, so if you want to start paying for the marketing dollars that generates a lead into the fucking place,
right?
Be my guest. But it's like, if I had a car deal also, and then they would be like, well, they get the house deals too, and they throw a fit. Yeah, he knows how to handle my house deal. Mm-hmm. He knows if I have Chip come in here, Chip wants to buy a new truck, I hand him off. He knows how to do his guest assessment. He knows how to go through everything. He knows how to take him on a test drive. He knows how to do the deal correctly. He knows how to close the deal. He knows how to run the whole thing.
It's a better ROI for the company.
Exactly.
And I work for the company, by the way.
Yeah.
My job is to help you be successful, for you and your family, so the company can also succeed.
Yeah. And I would tell those people, I go, guess what? The day you fucking outsell him, I'll give you more leads. Period. Like, it's pretty
that's a
simple.
hard dose of reality. But I mean, business is that way. It's about a result. And, but we need people to get the result. Mm-hmm. And managing the sales staff is not an easy, it's an art. It's not a science. I mean, the KPIs are the science.
Yeah.
But getting the people to go after the things they don't want to do to get the things that they want.
And that's
right. I mean, what is it you want in life? Oh, I want to send my kid to college. I want to be able to I want to be debt free someday. Okay. So you committed last week to make 200 dials and send this many texts and this many emails and get this many face-to-face appointments. Did you not? Okay. So here's your numbers. And we know if you do that and you can convert at the ratio that you've been converting at, you're able to send your kids to college. You're able to get debt free. You're able to pay off your house. You're able to buy that lake house that you want. You're able to take that hunt trip in the fall that you want. So let me ask you a question. How come you didn't do it?
So, what's funny is that same thing I would do when I first started as a sales manager. That's what I always did. I couldn't figure out why people's heads didn't operate that way. I was like, anything I've wanted, I've put numbers to paper, I've backtracked, and I figured out exactly what I had to do every day to go get what I want. That's just how my head operates. But not everyone's like that.
I know.
Now, as I progress in the car business, I figured out it was crazy in the car business how much cash spiffs are out there.
Yeah.
Somebody comes in, you sell 3 cars in a day, 500 cash to you. Mm-hmm. Now think about if you're doing that all the time, you're getting 500 cash. Like when I was selling cars, I had a pocket full of cash, and I felt like I was a fucking G. But it was like anytime they put money out there, I'd go get it. And it was like, but those were the things that drove me.
It's easy to manage people motivated by money.
It is.
But the thing of it is not people, I want to make 6 figures. Okay. All right.
How do you get that?
How many things will you do you don't like doing to make 6 figures? Every day, day after day, hour after hour. So, I trained 127 real estate agents in my career. You know how many are still in the business? 5.
So you know what? One thing that I saw that was like the craziest thing I've ever seen. I hire a sales guy. He starts. Everyone's offering him spiff money. He's not going after any of it. I come to Liberty and I buy a watch. So this dude was infatuated with my watches all the time. I've always been a watch person. That's just been my thing. He always compliment on my watch every day. He's like, one day I'm going to have watches like you, man. So I go buy a watch and I put it on my desk. He's like, oh, you get a new watch? He's like, that's legit. I go, no, you sell 20 cars, that's yours. This watch cost like $500. He had spiffs like that daily, never went after him. That dude was showing up an hour early to the dealership every single day with me. He's like doing what I was doing before doors ever opened. He was staying late every single day. At the end of that month, he sold 18 cars, but he put in the work, and I said, you know what, the watch is yours. And he worked his ass off.
Did a light bulb finally go off and like he understood after that?
No.
It's a one and done. It's a one and done.
There was no watch next.
No, but I figured out like on that deal, I started doing it with sales guys all the time.
I mean, but
I would call them in. I say, hey, you know what? What's something that you absolutely right now, if I could buy you one material item, what would it be that would just change your life? I'd have people come in there like, man, if I could get tires for my truck, that'd be my tires are bald as shit. All right, you sell. Like, look, like you think that's funny? Like,
I know. No,
dude,
I understand.
people would come in there like, if I get tires, like, okay, so if you sell 8 cars this week, I'll buy you new tires for your truck this weekend.
Done.
Those dudes would start showing up early. Everything in their whole life would change, and I'm like,
And what happened after they got the new tires?
I just started finding out something else to give them. I just started figuring
What's
like
next?
every sales guy, and I figured out it was something different for everyone. That everyone has a different ticker in their head.
They do.
That it's like, and I mean,
but I just don't have that ticker.
I've always had stupid shit that I've wanted. It's just never been presented to me that way.
Yeah, like the ticker is like somewhere in here. I don't.
But if I had you come in, and you're like, hey, one of my biggest dreams is sending my daughters to college.
Mhm.
Okay, so if I said sending your daughters to college and covering all that's the biggest thing that you've ever wanted to do. If you could sell this many cars, I will take this much out of every single car and I'll put it into a fund, and on top of that, I'll match it.
But Dane, this is how I work. I'd be like, so what's your number one guy sell?
20 cars a month. So
Okay. All right. How much does he make?
10 grand a month.
All right. So I'm going to go find out what he does, and then I'm going to do it better.
Okay, perfect. That's what I want you to do. And then you know what? When you do it better, and I was the first one that like you're going to bet on yourself. So I'm going to take this much of every check and I'm going to put it into a fund and then I'll match it.
Okay.
And then we'll send your daughters to college as quickly as you want. And then you get to fulfill that dream that you have.
Right.
But it's like things like that most of the time that ticker is just completely different. That when you find out what that ticker is.
That's what management's all about.
Yeah.
You got to have that gift. And that I think for top producers, if you're a top producer, finding people that don't tick the way you do is difficult.
Yeah. And I also think that it's something that like greed is factored into it.
Right.
That I see it from the car business. Like most people think the car business people are just bleeding money everywhere. Most of it's floor planned out. Like the nice cars and everything, those are on floor plans. They can sell them. I buy an $80,000 truck and I drive it around. I sell it for $80,000. I just washed it out on a floor plan. It wasn't like they're getting to show fancy things that they don't have car payments. They don't have the health insurance. They have it figured in with their plan that they have on the dealership. They don't have phone bills. They don't have all these typical bills. So it becomes a lot more fancier photo that people are seeing.
Right on.
But I just view that as like you see the leaders that make it in there and you see that it's not as pretty as it seems to be.
Oh, yeah, no. Same with top real estate teams and real estate agents. Like I have friends that their teams sell 1,200 homes a year. And, to find a guy that's doing that kind of business and his personal life is also at a 10 out of 10. Like business is at a 10 out of 10, but how's your spiritual life?
Yeah.
Dude, 3.
Yeah.
Okay. How's home life? 2. How are you emotionally? 5. How's your marriage? 4. How's business? 10.
Yeah.
Okay. So where do you, as you level up all these important areas in life, I think it's important to really focus on the areas that need work.
But
And it's okay if everything's not a 10, but it's not okay if things are under a 5.
which I think where people struggle with, and I hate the word balance. I think it's.
I don't use that word.
I
don't use the T word or the B word.
Yeah.
The T word goes TRY. I don't ever say
Yeah.
It's my kids do 50 push-ups. They say that word.
Yeah.
Or they can pay me $20. Either one, they can have their choice. But
I very much agree with
the B
that.
word is just as bad.
It is. I think so many people in our generation now live for this balance. That's a bunch of bullshit, really. And it is you may have work going, but then all of a sudden people are like, oh, I have a bad home life. Then they just jump ship over here.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm just going to fully jump ship on this. I'm going to go all into this. And they're like, oh, I made this great. Oh, shit, this is messed up. And then I jump ship back over here. And it's like, I don't know. I want a different word for balance, but there's a way that you can integrate all of it.
A harmony?
Harmony. Perfect harmony.
Dude,
Yeah.
that was wise.
Thank you.
Look at Ricky
That's my one contribution for this podcast.
coming in from left field.
I'm talking about
Yeah, I think that's over. I'll see you guys next week.
I didn't have it, so I'm glad Ricky had it.
I did too.
Harmony.
Yeah.
Like you just the important areas in life, like don't ignore. If you want to last, like I think you have to pay attention to all of it. Right?
Totally.
You talk to the old guys like that have been successful. They don't.
That's why we had you on here.
Huh?
That's why we had you on here.
That's what we're doing right now.
On the dating sites, everybody thinks I'm 35. I wish. But no, I mean, I think it's really important. Like you pay attention to the spiritual side of life, like, because there's people in all of our lives that we love that aren't here anymore. Right. And there's things that they imparted upon us about who they were. And so, nobody cares about how many houses you sell or how many cars you sold. Like that's what you did. It's not who you were. And so you really have, I think it's important to be the person that you want people to remember you as. And that's more than just selling houses and selling cars or whatever you're selling, widgets.
Or whatever you're doing in general. If you're a service-based business, whatever your job is. And I think a lot of people think that their job is everything.
Yeah, it's just not.
It's
because
not.
It can be gone tomorrow.
And
I mean, you can get in a bad accident. You can have a loved one get hurt. Things happen. And you don't want to live life out of fear, but just reality.
And I think
stuff happens in life.
It does.
And it can happen with the snap of a finger. So you don't want to really have any regrets. As few as possible.
Yeah.
I'll have some, but.
And I also think people get in this mindset that they're just irreplaceable in everything, that like
everybody's replaceable.
And it's
everybody.
As much as you don't want to think so. Like I was at a spot at a car dealership. I'm like, they can't replace me. Blah, blah, blah.
I'm the best there is.
Guess what? That place didn't skip a fucking beat when I left.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's replaceable just in a different way. So yeah, I mean, a all around person that's a whole person with harmony in their life.
Harmony
is tough to replace. That's tough to replace. Like somebody who can a baller that can sell a lot of houses. I mean, you can replace that with 4 more people that sell just as many as that one person.
Yeah.
You just recruit more.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody who's all around that's like that, I don't know, when the Royals were really, really good, we had Gordon out there in left field, right? I mean, he was in the clubhouse. He was an important part of the team. And he was great on the field. He had the work ethic. He was the right kind of citizen. Like those guys are hard to replace. So,
and I think those are people that I think in our world today, people look up to people differently than before. That it's like, I look at people, I know people that have a lot of money, way more money than me. That there's people that could sit at this table right here that have, I mean, every object that people can dream of. And I wouldn't trade their life for mine in not a chance.
I know.
But it's like, I sit there and I think about positioning your life where your relationship is right, where your family life is right, where you talk about spiritually you're right. Like all these different things is, if you could check all those boxes and look at where you stand, and we had a podcast last week on looking at the man in the mirror.
Really?
Our whole podcast.
I need to watch that.
Our whole podcast last week was about that. And it was actually because.
What did you guys figure out?
I don't know if we figured anything out, but it was when we were down hog hunting. It was actually the first time I was sitting in a blind for 4 hours with no cell service whatsoever. It was the first time I was disconnected for that long a period of time in probably the last 5 years of my life.
Yep.
That actually just had me reflecting on a lot of things of where I've gotten to, I'm so thankful for the people that are around me in business and everything like that, that it's like I hang out with the people I work with every day. And it's like my relationship is the best it's ever been.
Yeah.
And it's like with Madison, with my family, with everybody, it's like
you're in the sweet spot right now.
It is. And it's like, and I think about it so much. I'm like, I have to make sure I
don't mess it up.
Exactly.
Don't mess it up. So here's the thing.
That's like everything I have going on right now. I'm like,
I hear you.
Don't fuck it up.
But like, this is, I forget who it was. It might have been like Tom Hanks. he's sitting there with Robert De Niro and all these other like Jack Nicholson, and they're all like talking about what they've learned in the acting business in Hollywood. And Tom Hanks goes, if there's anything that I think is really would have been helpful like 40 years ago when I started this business, is this too shall pass. Like these good times right now, like everything's like, it'll pass. But when it gets bad and things aren't going really, really well and everything's falling apart, shit's blowing up everywhere, this too shall pass.
Yeah.
Because that day comes. And, it's whether it's in a career or whether it's in a marriage or whether it's with your children or whether it's with whatever, this too shall pass. I mean, you just give it enough time and you do the things you need to do to make it better. But there's bad times. I mean, hard times come. It's just life. And, it passes.
Which I think when you think of things that way, it's made me think a lot more about there's more items that I want, shit like that it's like, I don't need them. And it's like, I look at it now, though, it's like, could I afford them? Yes. I'm very disciplined on the way I live financially in a personal level to make sure I don't put myself to that spot that it's like, I don't want to jeopardize. It's not as in like
is that why it took you like 25 years to marry your wife?
It's only like
you didn't want to mess things up. 11?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's not broke, why break it?
But it's something I look at that, like, we've talked about it forever, that we went to college. Dalton and I have been to weddings of people that are divorced.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
It's this new day and age of people are just supposed to get married super fast, everything.
Yeah.
And we did things a little backwards. We bought a house right out of college when nobody else was buying houses.
Says who? Like, like it's your life and it's your story and you got the pen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a blank piece of paper and nobody says, in my opinion, if they tell you you're doing it wrong, it's because it makes them uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that it's wrong. It means that their way is the way that worked for them.
Yep.
And so, a lot of people have a hard time with that. And that's okay. I mean, I personally don't. I'm like, I don't feel like someone should tell someone else how to do anything, whether it's in business, you seek out the people you think are doing it right and you do your best to emulate that or take it and make it yours. And I think in life, we should do the same things, or that's what I look to do.
And that's where I think in life, I've looked to a lot of people that I have respect for and how they run and operate their lives. And I've done the same thing in business where I've looked to those people that have scaled businesses that have figured out a lot of things I haven't figured out yet.
Yep.
And I'm always navigating new waters.
Do you guys read a lot of books?
Mm-hmm.
I don't read so much.
No.
Ricky reads.
I used to read a lot more than I do right now.
What kind of stuff you all read?
Mostly just personal development type stuff.
Have you read Scaling Up?
Hmm.
You guys got to read it. Scaling Up. Dude, that book. When you're growing a business, like that is one of the books you want to read. Unbelievable. Anyway, I don't know why I got off on that tangent, but I think that is a book for anybody that wants to grow a business.
I've not read that.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like it's a life changer for real. But
I think reading books, I think always we talk about it when you say progression is happiness and we work on that progression. Most people go to college and they stop learning right afterwards.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
They don't further their education. They don't further their mind. They don't I feel like keeping your mind sharp all the time. It's pushing your body to the limits all the time. Doing all these different things is something that just really.
I think when you're in a hyper competitive business like the car business or like the real estate business, there's always change.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to stay, super competitive, you've got to continue to evolve and change with it.
Yeah. And I think
if you want to stay at the top.
And I mean, we talk about it all the time. You get to that top spot, there's always people climbing that same mountain trying to get to that top spot.
Yeah, there are.
And it's whenever you think that you're at a comfortable spot, somebody's right behind you about to take it from you.
Can you guys imagine being in a bar business in a college town?
That's got to be crazy.
What that's like? I mean, there's always a new hot bar, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you stay the hot bar? It's hard.
Yeah.
And our goal was to keep the pretty girls coming to our place. And then we stayed
I was going to say, if you keep the girls there, then
We had
you
ladies'
win.
night every night.
Yeah, every night's ladies' night.
That's the main KPI in the bar business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, trying to think of all the stuff we've covered.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
I'm trying to think if there's.
I did have a question because I think there's one thing that he does that we didn't go over was how'd you get into becoming an auctioneer?
So my uncle, when I was, my mom grew up in Abilene, Kansas.
Okay.
You know where that's at.
Yeah.
And so my uncle was an auctioneer out there. And I always looked up to him and wanted to learn what he did. And so I went out there and helped him a lot in the summer. And then I went to auctioneer school in 1986. You had to be 16 to go to auction school. So at that time, the Kansas City Stockyards was still there. And I went down and went to auction school and learned, we learned to sell everything from tobacco to cattle to real estate to pots and pans, precious metals, we called them. Pots and pans. That was, and then I just started helping my uncle do a lot of farm household estate sales. And he told me, he said, if you ever want to make money in this business, you need to sell real estate. And so I got my real estate license 2 years later, and that's what I do now.
He's like, my whole life was pointing towards real estate.
Yeah. All because of Uncle Stan. So, yeah.
All right. So I feel like we've covered most things. Like I said,
We haven't talked religion or politics. No.
We talked politics when the cameras were off.
Died,
And
Yeah.
we're kind of waiting if that's ever going to be plugged in or not. That's going to be just a full speed.
Do any of you guys have kids yet?
Mm-mm.
None of y'all have. Oh, there's one.
That's why we work so many hours.
Yeah. Yeah. That changes the game.
What are some of your final thoughts? If somebody's listening to this, they need help. If they're somewhere that they're stuck, what's advice that you have for them? Just overall life, business, relationship, spiritual, whatever it is.
Man, I'm not a very good advice giver. I can tell you what works for me. You have to talk to the people that know you best, and then you have to take action. Like if you're, spiritually in a bad place or you're mentally in a bad place, go do something about it. Like go do what you need to do to get right. Don't think it's going to fall in your lap. It's like sales, man. I mean, you want to sell 20 cars a month, go get it. Go figure out what you got to do it and then do it. So yeah, I mean, that's my advice is take action, massive action, and implement and execute whatever that is. If it's getting yourself, more fit so you feel better about yourself, or, if you're having relationship problems with your family or with your friends or your significant other, like take action, go see if you can correct it or improve it, and then be a good person. I think when there's problems in life, it's really important that you treat others well, because no matter how it works out or ends up, the way you treated each other when it was hard, it matters when it's over and it's better, right? I mean, people see how you do that and how you go through hard times, and you just do the best you can to treat others like they deserve to be treated.
Like good things happen to good people.
And he said he wasn't good at giving advice.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
that's-
know.
And then what?
Yeah.
Harmony, man.
Harmony.
My final thought was just super insightful podcast.
Yeah.
I feel like you gave a lot of good advice and a lot of good things for everyone to take away from it. So
I totally agree. I thought we were just going to be talking houses and stuff. This was
Who
Great-
cares about how
great material.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know if you were here and you thought you were coming from real estate, you didn't get a whole lot of real estate RB, but I definitely think there's a podcast in the future with you again. Like I said,
100%.
I think that we had 2 hours of talking before we even started the podcast. Always very, very much enjoy speaking with you. And this was, like I said, very insightful on a lot of aspects.
fun, cool stuff. I hope we didn't get too deep there.
No, I think it was perfect. We will, I always forget this of plugging the links below. We'll plug the links below for all of Chip's stuff. Facebook, Oh shit, we lost. I was almost there.
Almost.
For Facebook, Instagram, everything like that. You need anything, any help, you need auction houses, anything like that, he's your guy. If you just need some help in general, spiritually, anything else, I feel like you'd give insights to anybody that needs it. So that is M3 Podcast. Thank you for being here.
Peace.
Thanks,
Guys. Enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening to the M3 Podcast.
That's fantastic.
Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Want to learn more? Check us out on Instagram at Moss Marketing Group, on Facebook at Moss Marketing 58, or on our website at mossmarketinggroup.com.
I finished my stogie here.